Hi, my name is Mike and welcome to my vlog about football in general and Burnley FC in particular. A vlog that this week was reminded of the old Gary Lineker quote: "Football is a simple game. 22 men chase a ball for 90 minutes and at the end the officials always give Man United a penalty to win." And with that we're off. Yes, I was there on Saturday to see Burnley lose 3-2 at Old Trafford to a Man United team that needed an injury-time VAR-assisted penalty to overcome a great second-half performance. I never thought I'd say these words in 30-odd years of being a Clarets fan, but I came away from Old Trafford disappointed to lose. I'll get onto the circumstances of the stuff at the end. By the way, if you're looking for anything in terms of deep analytics or balanced judgment, stop right now, because this one's coming from the heart. This one's coming from as I feel as a football fan, as a Burnley fan. Other podcasts are out there, other reactions are out there to give you that kind of dry analysis and balance or whatever. So if you're going to go, oh well, you know, we're looking for balance or whatever, this ain't the place, this ain't the one. Maybe some United fans tune in and go, well, you're not balanced. Well, you fucking got Mark Goldbridge, so fuck right off when it comes to balance. Right. Oh, and by the way, I think I tweeted out, tweet or skeet or whatever on Blue Sky last week, that judging by last week, this season, Out of My Tiny Mind, is going to be a hell of a lot more sweary. Well, here we go. Yeah, so obviously I went to the game. It's I have a choice every year. Do I go to United? Do I go to City? Because they are the two closest games to me where I live. This year I chose United mainly because I'm sick of seeing us battered at City. Not sure I made the right choice, really. Going to Old Trafford is a different experience than going to the Etihad. The Old Trafford is, for all its faults, and they are many, is still a proper football ground. You feel like you are going to a football match and not a night at the theatre. It is a grand old stadium. It's quiet. The PA system's awful. There is no, and I didn't think I'd be saying this sort of thing, there is no scoreboard, and what scoreboard there is pretty awful. You kind of want some information during the game, you know, compared to, say, the Etihad, which is a night at the theatre. It is a proper old school football ground, unfortunately, one that, you know, is filled with day tripping tourists wearing half and half scarves, but I'll get onto that later. First half was our third slow start in as many Premier League games, and the Clarets put in a first half performance that was pretty poor. We had Dubravka to thank for keeping us from conceding really early on. Incredible sort of full-length save. And throughout the opening 45 minutes we were chasing shadows, really. The midfield was nowhere. Amorim in his usual 3-5-2, Mason Mount. It's interesting watching this Manchester United team. They act like a Manchester United team that is entitled to win at home, but without actually deserving it, without playing like they deserve. They kind of swagger around and they go, you know, oh, how dare you come near us? How, you know, but you don't do anything to earn it. And I thought Mason Mount was the perfect example of that. You know, it was kind of like he would get the ball and then suddenly be surprised that he's getting challenged. You know, don't you know I'm wearing a red shirt? You can see the problems with Manchester United. They are 11 good players. They're not a team in any way, shape or form. You can talk about, oh, they're not playing for a manager or whatever. They're not a team. They are not a team. They haven't been a team for about a decade. They're just simply a bunch of individuals who have been purchased, and they're very talented individuals who have been purchased to kind of not even fill a hole, to just go, well, we bought this player. You know, the latest of which is Mbeumo, player I really liked at Brentford and looked really, really good on Saturday. And I'm going to be disappointed to see him crushed under the weight of what Manchester United is, and whoever the next manager is or whatever. But anyway, the first kind of like talking point was the VAR check for Walker fouling Mount. Now, one of the things I always said about Kyle Walker is he does what I call a defensive Vardy, which is basically he uses his pace to outrun the attacker, runs in front of the attacker, and then falls over. We saw him do it all the time at Man City, and I did wonder when we signed him if moving away from the big club would mean that refs wouldn't tolerate it. And lo and behold, first opportunity to get, oh, this time it's a penalty. I was thinking, come on, we've even put him in a sky blue shirt on Saturday, you know. Surely the old trick should still work now he's no longer at Man City. But, you know, they gave a penalty, and then there was a long VAR check. And it was one of those, the longer it goes on, the more you're thinking they're overturning this. And they did. and then VAR overturns it for no foul, which I was kind of like, I've seen the replay, and really? No foul. I mean, there's contact there, and if there's contact there, I think our player initiates it. But that got overturned. I mean, remember there used to be some days when it was clear and obvious error? And I was kind of looking at that and going, okay, the ref's blown for a penalty. I don't think that's a clear and obvious error. If you don't think it's a penalty, okay, is it clear and obvious? If he hadn't blown for a penalty, would that have passed the threshold to give a penalty because it's clear and obvious? No. So what is the VAR doing? But this is the thing that kind of occurred to me. This game, weird as it may seem, is probably the most watched football match on the planet because it's Manchester United at home. Not just the 77 in the ground or 77,000 in the ground, but around the world, Premier League, Manchester United, the star attraction, all that kind of thing. Everyone is watching that. And that means everyone around the game is kind of like on their best behaviour, which means the referees and the officials are going to be in their best behaviour, including the VAR. And that is where I'm going to come to later. So yeah, we're in a situation where, we've been sold VAR, we've been sold a pop. I've gone over VAR, and everyone's gone over VAR so many times, but I feel that I have to kind of say it. We've been sold a pop. I was a supporter of VAR being introduced, but the way it's been introduced is just absolutely terrible. We were told that decisions would not be re-refereed. This is clear is what's happening, yet they are not working as a team, so we get this stupid halfway house. That is a clear sign of a VAR official inserting himself into the game. If that had been a penalty, I actually would have gone, okay, fair enough. Especially, even at the time I thought, he's tangling legs, I think that might be a penalty. I'm far enough away, okay, it's a penalty. And I'm saying that as an away fan. Going on to watch the entertainment spectacle, I'll get on to what Scotty Parker said later. Anyway, game goes on. Usual Homerism. Hannibal flings himself to the ground looking for a foul. He's not going to get it. Fernandes flings himself to the ground. Whistle blows. Of course, it's always going to happen. And then their goal came from a free kick, which even as far away as I was like, he got the ball there. Surely he got the ball. But again, Homerism. Free kick comes in onto the bar, hits Josh Cullen, goes in the back of the net. Buzzer goes off on the watch. Again, even at the other end of the ground, I thought, I'm pretty sure that went in. You just have that feeling. You've watched enough games, you have that feeling. And that feeling had got in. Yeah, lo and behold, it had got in. Not undeserved to go 1-0 down. Should really have been several down by the break. There was, speaking of break, there was that counter-attack. This is where Manchester United are actually quite good. And Mbeumo always finding space. They find him, he passes the ball across to Diallo, who just puts it into Rosed. And we go off at the break, 1-0 down. And I was thinking to myself, actually, because I was there back in 2020 with the 2-0 win, the J-Rod Screamer. There was a couple of chances that United didn't put away. There was a really open one, I think in the first half, that they just really should have scored. And you kind of went into the break thinking, hey, we got a chance here. And it was a similar thing. I was thinking, I think actually we've got a chance. And I think Scott Parker's halftime team talk, or whatever happened in the reset at halftime, made a huge difference. We came out and we started keeping the ball. We weren't playing like we were afraid of them. We were beginning to take the game to them. Whether that was a talk among the players, whether it was the manager, I don't care. Credit to whoever it was, probably both. And we began to feel like we got something here. Because this Man United team is not very good, and I got the feeling that if we can get one, they're going to wobble. If we could just take the chance, which is not something we're particularly good at, and we have to make sure that we take our chances when we get it. First chance arrived, the Foster offside. Again, forgetting VAR, the Foster runs through, goes around the keeper and scores. I go and look at the linesman has flagged. Okay. Again, I'm not celebrating it too much because the linesman has flagged. So if it's offside, it's offside. I'm kind of already prepared for it. And then we get a long VAR check. And the semi-automated offside took a while, confirmed it was offside. Okay, and then we saw the graphic of it, or see it afterwards. You're like, hang on a second, that's a bit confusing. Not sure about that. But again, too late. Offside is offside. Fine. But doesn't matter, because we do a really nice move to work the ball out to Brun Larsen. I think it was an intercept. He was in acres of space. The ball goes out to him, and then a great cross and a lovely finish from Lyle Foster. You know, to put it in. Brilliant. I'm so glad. I mean, he's had 2 taken off him by VAR for decisions which were, I'm not going to say debatable, I'm going to say decisions which were marginal. If they'd have gone the other way, you'd have agreed with it. They've gone, you know, he lost out last week. The ref, again, I was talking about the offside, blowing, looking at the offside. When he scored last week, I looked at the ref and I'm like, the ref's blown for a foul there. VAR didn't overturn it. VAR weren't going to overturn that decision. Lyle's unlucky. He's unlucky with the offside. It's a gnat's crotchet. This time he gets to score. Brilliant. What he needs, what we needed, what he needs as a player. Brilliant. We're level. Fantastic. We've got 1. You know what? I think there might be 2 here. Oh, bloody hell, we've just conceded. Not good. And Wemo, nice cutback. It just, you clawed your way back in and we just fallen asleep. And just so annoying. So annoying. But, you know, you kind of think at the time, I think there is 2 here. I think there is 2. And then it turned into a good game, you know, a really good game from a Claret point of view. They were working so incredibly hard. They were getting the ball back. They were passing it. They were creating stuff, you know, not clear-cut chances, but they were creating and putting pressure on. And then the goal comes, you know, fantastic. Free kick goes in. Our free kicks weren't particularly good, but that one went in, caused trouble. Chaumer, really like him. Came on for Big Les. I've got to call him Big Les because trying to get his last name right, I've heard so many different pronunciations, so it's Big Les. Big Les had a great game, I thought. And then Chaumer comes on. I really like Chaumer as an option off the bench. Interesting to see him go, you know, for a full 90 minutes. But as an option off the bench, I think he's a bit of a live wire. I think he's really good. He takes the shot, parried, falls to Anthony, back of the net, 2-2. We are in dreamland. We are like, yeah, this is actually what we've deserved. Forgetting the first half performance, we have deserved. We have come back twice to Manchester United at Old Trafford. How brilliant is that? But we knew what was going to happen. It was always going to happen. And it wasn't going to go and happen in the way that it should. If we were to concede, you want it to be in the confines of the game. A piece of unstoppable skill, a momentary lapse of concentration, even a wicked deflection. All those are okay, but that's never going to be the way. Not in this modern Premier League. Not with the big away at Old Trafford. There always has to be that helping hand. And it reminded me of that last-minute penalty for Arsenal several seasons ago, the one at the Turf, where you knew before the free kick was going to be taken what was going to happen. You knew that there was a set play to cheat the officiating, and you knew it was going to come, and you knew we were going to get cheated out of it. And we knew, for all our amusing chants about Grimsby and stuff like that, we knew when that board went up, they're going to try and cheat one, and the ref's going to fall for it. And I see things like, oh, you shouldn't have given the ref a chance to make the decision. Well, he did make the decision. And we hit the jackpot. We hit the jackpot of a ref not falling for the bullshit. The problem is, to quote the old joke about Mike and Bernie Winters in Glasgow, oh fuck, there's 2 of them. VAR. VAR's going to step in. VAR. Again, remember those days when it was clear and obvious error? Wasn't a clear and obvious error, it was a fucking dive. Did he pull his shirt? Yeah, he did. I'll come to that in a second. Was he getting that ball? No. Was it a dive? Of course it was. But the referee didn't fall for it. But the VAR, he's always going to give it. That's why VAR exists. It isn't to smooth out these things during a game, to ensure the I'll call it the balance, the fair playing field or anything like that. That is not why VAR was brought in. VAR was brought in to stop things like this happening, to stop the big clubs with all their advantages and all their biases and all that kind of stuff. Football is a random game at times. And, you know, there is things like giant killing. There is things like you can batter a team and have 80% possession plus and lose because the other team had ran down the other end and scored. You can lose because a linesman gives an offside decision slightly the wrong way with the speed of the modern game. VAR was brought in to take that peril away from the big clubs, to take that element of random chance away, because ultimately in the Premier League for the big clubs there are millions and millions of pounds at stake, and what businesses don't like with millions and millions of pounds at stake is uncertainty. So they already have enough advantages, and VAR gives them another one, because should the officiating make a mistake, and you know they are human beings, they will make mistakes, VAR is there as a safety net. Are Burnley going to get that decision at Old Trafford down the other end? No. Here's the important bit. Are Liverpool or Arsenal or Man City getting that decision at their end in the same way Burnley did? No. Are Burnley getting that decision at home? No. That's the thing. That's the gutting thing. Is the VAR going to step in on that one? No. Because his on-pitch colleague has given him the VAR the out. And not enough in it. Not enough in it to overturn that decision if it's in a Burnley shirt. But he can step in if it's a Man United shirt. And we can see the usual justifications. Well, Law 12 states that pulling the shirt for an extended period of time, blah, 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 blah. Oh, we're back to quoting the rules of the conventions, are we? So I did this last time it happened with the Luton one. There are rules, there are conventions, and there are conventions right until the fact there are rules. Okay. The law states that Jane Lancity pulled his shirt for an extended period of time. Okay. What happened to the rules that when players are defending corners? Especially when your name's Harry Maguire. Okay, so we're back to the laws and the rules of the game. Okay, what about the rules of the descent that disappear for Bruno Fernandes? That rulebook? We're applying the rules again? We're applying the rules to a game where a player dived to win a penalty, but that player had already waved off 2 dives in the penalty box without booking him for simulation. So, rules, laws, those got suspended. But now they're back in again. It's a dive, but that's okay because he was having his shirt pulled. So yeah, law 12 states that his shirt was being pulled, but he managed to go 5 yards and then flung himself forward to the floor despite having his shirt pulled in the back. Is that the law? Have we actually got a law that says it is now okay for a player to run into the penalty box and dive? Because that is what that law is encouraging players to do. And by the way, not that I'm saying this is happening, but it can now be a set play because the ball, as long as it's passed in the general area, then the player can fling himself to the ground and go, hey, my shirt was being pulled. We're already seeing set plays in the Premier League from the top clubs where players, when faced with 2 or 3 defenders in front of them, on the 18-yard line, are running at them and trying to get their foot trod on or flinging their left leg out and then falling when their right leg goes under. We're already seeing this happen, and you will see the shirt pull even more and more because it's going to be a set play. Ball is going to get passed into space. The attacker is going to go by the defender. The defender is going to grab their shirt because for 89.5 minutes, that is okay. And then suddenly, it's not. And this is the thing, you kind of say this stuff, and you even say it out loud, you're going, Jesus, should I be wearing that tinfoil hat again? Burnley aren't getting those decisions, ever. Fulham. Look at Fulham. What were those decisions in the Fulham game? Oh, by the way, the clips yesterday, Liverpool versus Arsenal. Handball in the penalty area, the shoulder, right at the end. VAR saw it. Nothing. Yet, we've seen other handballs given already this season where people are going, what the hell? Jadon Anthony. The dive was okay by Diallo, even though he wasn't getting to the ball, because it was enough of a contact to stop him getting to the ball. 2 weeks ago against Spurs, Jadon Anthony just absolutely pummeled in the area, but it was okay because he wasn't going to get to the ball. What do we do? What do we do? And as for the post-match, it was always going to concentrate on United, not the effect on Burnley. I mean, the most we got was Jamie Jackson in The Guardian calling it a controversial penalty. This, coming from him as The Guardian's main Man United correspondent, is as close as you will get to actually calling it out for what it was. After all, if Bruno Fernandes takes a dive in a penalty box at Old Trafford on a completely empty field and gets the penalty from the ref, Jamie Jackson will call it a bit soft. So controversial, that's him basically going as far as he can. And that's not a knock on him as a writer or as a person. It's his job to cover Manchester United for The Guardian, to get the clicks, to get the attention, to get the focus. And therefore he has to appeal to Manchester United fans. So that means keeping them sweet and doing their PR work. So if Jamie Jackson calls it a controversial penalty, then you know something's up. But that's how it works, Man United's a global brand, either in success, in crisis, they get the clicks, they get the attention. The other papers, TalkSport, 5 Live, Match of the Day, concentrate on United failing. Sky will be talking about Amorim buying time before the inevitable sack. Even today, in the 10 things we learned this week from The Guardian, again, I only generally read The Guardian online. I'm not having a go at them specifically, I'm just saying they're just the symptom, everyone else is the same. But in that 10 things thing, it wasn't even mentioned. And that's all you need to know. Forget it, move on, forget about it, stop making a fuss, move on. And our players, who were superb in that second half, barely get a condescending pat on the head. And our fans, let's not forget, we as a fan base have to cultivate a long-lasting lifetime support just to make sure that the club stays solvent in the bad times. And, we're there getting jeered at by a bunch of people in half and half scarves celebrating like they won the Champions League, but were 10 minutes earlier nervously checking their watches in case they were going to miss their flight back to Heathrow or Dublin or Oslo. That's the bit that kind of really hurts, getting jeered at in that circumstance by a bunch of people who, for them, is an away trip of a lifetime, that they will never see Manchester United again. And people in that away end, myself included, who followed our team through thick and thin, have to put up with that. We have to face that, not only having that on the pitch, but having that in the ground. I'm not saying it was intimidating or anything like that. That would be totally unfair. But that's how it feels. To basically be told, to be demonstrated that the club you support is irrelevant, and it stings. It really stings. I really felt for the players. They were brilliant in their second half. Hardman at the end summed it up the best. He trudges over to the corner to us to applaud us, and he gives us the biggest, well, what can you do? He knew. They all knew. And it wasn't like, a lot of players do put it on for the fans, but he knew. The other players knew. And going through the players, Ekdal, immense throughout before he went. Dubravka, brilliant. Absolutely delighted to see Dubravka making such a good start. Estev, really, really good. Walker, yeah. Cullen, directing things. Anthony, bit in and out, but it's a bit in and out kind of game. Big Les, Cullen in the middle, yeah, happy with that. But Larson, again, not a game where attackers are going to sparkle. Foster, brilliant. Worked his socks off again in a very, very trying cause. Did not give up. Got the goal his performance deserved. And Parker, after the game, criticising the existence of VAR, criticising VAR as much as he can without actually getting a fine or going at the individual's VAR. Just criticising VAR in general, which I thought was a smart move. You could tell he wanted to have a go. You could tell he wanted to explode. And I don't blame him. I really don't. when I talk about not looking forward to a Premier League season, this is exactly the sort of thing that takes the joy out of it. Whether it's not the existence of VAR, it's VAR doing that. It's VAR protecting the big boys. That's what takes the joy away. Because it doesn't matter what you do, it's still not enough. So yeah, I leave Old Trafford, make my way through the crowd, start walking back. I was catching the tram back. I ended up walking 2 miles, angry walking 2 miles, and I could have walked all the way home. I could have stomped in a funk all the way home, but I needed to get home. I needed to get my car and all that kind of stuff because I was annoyed. I was angry. I was disappointed, but I was annoyed. I was annoyed at the outcome. I was annoyed at the ending. I was annoyed ultimately at myself. I was annoyed because I believed. I was annoyed at daring to dream. I was annoyed at believing for a short while that we would come away with what we deserved. And like I say, if it had been a piece of skill, if it had been a wicked deflection, if it had been a dumb mistake, I could have tolerated that. That just is disappointment. But I was annoyed at forgetting that the table, the Premier League, the structure is tilted. I was annoyed at daring to dream. If you like this vlog, then there is a couple of years worth of previous vlogs covering the Championship, the last 2 Championship seasons and the last Premier League season. If you would give me a like, that would be fantastic. If you would give me a subscribe, that would be even better. And in the meantime, up the Clarets.